You don't have to believe me. I don't care if you believe me or not. I know what I saw, but I know you can't claim what I claim. You can't claim what I claim.
If you obey my words, God will bless your finances. As a matter of fact, he'll make you a millionaire. If you're already a millionaire, he'll make you a multi-hundred million millionaire or a billionaire. If you obey my voice, if you obey the voice of God speaking through me.
Now, text to give. Do it right now. Now listen, do it right now. Come on, move quickly. A lot of you moving slow. Do it now. Do it now. Some of you say, well, I gave last week. God gave you spiritual stuff last week. Come on, sow again this week.
These people who are worried about where the money goes and jam in mine.
Yeah, that's going to be us today. When he's talking about those who are concerned about where the money ends up, we are going to be those people.
They the thieves. They don't pay their tithes. They don't give a freaking nickel here. Why we give a freak what you care? Why don't you drop $1 million here, then come talk to me and sit in one of these red chairs? And maybe I'll talk to you with my black deposition suit on. Darn chump. You're gonna sit up and tell us what we need to do with the money, and you ain't giving nothing here. I don't owe you nothing.
And, I just don't understand people who know a man who has had this many face-to-face visitations and will not invest in buying the teachings that Jesus gave me face-to-face.
Just so we're clear, he's about to tell us that Jesus, Christ, has appeared to him personally one-on-one with offerings of information and knowledge that he's now selling in book form on his website for around $20 to $25 each.
Why wouldn't you want to hear if Christ has appeared to somebody this many times? I've had over 1,000 visitations. All of those teachings mostly are visitation teachings. Do you understand that? I've had over 1,000 visitations from Jesus Christ, and he's taught me things that will catapult your life and destiny.
Nice belts. I got one on tonight. Only thieves get mad at where the money is going. Uh-oh, I just leveled you just then. Bam! Boom! Bazam! Lord, you are my King. You are my Master.
Yes, seriously.
My everything.
So right now, everybody back to your seats. Come on, let's get our envelopes. Ushers, get busy, get those envelopes out right now. Do not leave this atmosphere.
That's right.
Do not leave this atmosphere. Do not rob yourself. Don't rob yourself of this moment.
That's right.
You can tell she thought that line was really clever. Like, on the surface, sure, it appears that people are all being robbed for their money, as this pastor and the rest of his ministry live lavishly off the small donations of working class people. But anybody who can see the truth and the light and the way will know that really what you'd be doing by thinking that way is robbing yourself of the opportunity to donate to the Lord. And the sad part about all this is that they really believe they're sowing something for the future. Like they think they're investing. It almost reminds me of people trying to sell dog coins on the internet, but there's no dog or coin. Luckily now there's the internet.
And those of you that are watching, I know that you were blessed. You've been blessed. You've received the victory too. Everybody back to your seats. Come on. Get your envelope. Right now is the time to plant that seed right now.
That's right.
Ushers, get those envelopes passed out. Those of you that are, watching online, hit that donate button tonight.
Yes.
The victory was just released in every area of your life.
Imagine you're approached by an acquaintance, like someone from your work or a friend of a friend, and they inform you, unbeknownst to yourself, that you've been holding them back in some way. Then they go on to inform you that it's all been resolved because they made a donation to God and He has granted them the victory over you. I wouldn't be too worried about something like this because it's pretty likely that the person has recently attended a seminar from Apostle David E. Taylor, and most likely nothing is going to happen to you.
Yeah, I'm talking about the one who Moses worked with. That's the one I was in his lap. That's why I tell all my enemies, you doomed. If you don't repent, you're doomed. You can't fight me and win. I have the greatest person working with me. Whether you believe it or not, and that's going to be worse for you not to believe it. You're doomed. Just like Pharaoh and his army, you're going to be drowned.
At great risk of being drowned like the Pharaoh and his army, I'm afraid in this video I'm going to have to make an enemy of David. While it's been pointed out before that what he's doing, which can essentially be described as grifting, or even creating a cult, is highly unethical, but technically not illegal. That's why rather than behind bars, he spends much of his time behind a thumbnail on YouTube, begging for money from the 3 people who watch him. We're going to watch some highlights from his infamous deposition to establish a pattern of deception and try to draw some conclusions about his personality and any mental health factors that might be playing a role in a case like this. We're also going to hold David to his own standards and shamelessly pass moral judgment on his character and actions.
I got my deposition suit on. Yeah, man, I got it on, man. Turn idiots. They ain't the right kind of pastor calling people idiots. You shut up, idiot.
May I have you raise your right hand, sir? Do you solemnly swear or affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes.
Thank you.
Who lives with you at Victory Lane?
No one.
No one lives with you there?
No, other than my son.
Well,
and
I mean, he
my dad.
counts.
Okay, yeah.
Whoever the human being is.
Yes, my son.
And who's your son?
Joshua Taylor.
And what's his date of birth?
The 12th, 21st, and it's 2000.
And
1999, I'm sorry.
and who is his mother?
Tabitha Taylor.
Now you have older children, is that right?
No.
Yeah.
My daughter, Destiny Taylor. Yeah.
And her mother is Tabitha.
Mm-hmm.
You have to answer yes or no.
Yes.
So.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So you have full custody of Joshua?
We have joint. I think they give her the. What did the court say? The pastoral custody, where I don't know the terminology for it, but I know that I have. She keeps them half of the week, and then I keep them.
When you say
half.
them, who are you referring to?
It's Joshua and Destiny.
Is Destiny an adult?
Yeah, now she is. She just turned 18 January.
Okay, so is Tabitha Taylor the primary custodian of the children?
Is that the terminology?
Well, I'm supplying some. I don't know what it.
Yeah,
where you got divorced and what language they use.
Yeah, I don't.
But you believe you have 50-50 parenting time,
yes. Mm-hmm.
and you pay support.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
How much do you pay?
$750 a month.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
David is on high alert. He knows he's about to be challenged, and he's not entirely confident that his silly language is going to work on competent adults. There is a plethora of common behaviors associated with average stress responses, and with David there are a few that are obvious up front. A few that come to mind are lack of concentration, inability to be rational or objective, and slight memory loss. Now, this is not uncommon behavior for people being deposed, and small things like forgetting his son's year of birth, or about the existence of the daughter he allegedly assaulted with one of his excessively expensive belts, shouldn't be too surprising. After all, if you lived in a mansion and only paid $375 a month in childcare, you might forget about one of your kids too.
You indicated that when you were in St. Louis, you sleep at 2 houses, 2 different places. One is the Victory Lane that you rent. That's a rental.
Mm-hmm.
You have to answer yes.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Okay. And one was where JMMI rents at, and I'm not sure how to pronounce the name of the street, Timpage?
Yeah, Timpage.
Timpage?
Mm-hmm.
How much time do you spend at one versus the other?
I'm not sure. I know that we just, the ministry just acquired that ministry residence now a little over a year. And so we were preparing things over there. So I spent more time this past little year of helping that. But the majority of my time usually is at the apartment which is my main residence. That's my residence.
So we've established something here that's going to become more relevant as David's story begins to tangle itself up. He's going to repeatedly claim that the $2.8 million mansion owned by his ministry is not a home used by him, but a, quote, residential center used for ministry operations. However, he already just told us that he lives there. He said it was acquired a year or so ago, and then he says that he would normally spend the majority of his time at his actual residence on Victory Lane, but that he was spending more time at the mansion, quote, for the past little year, as he was, quote, moving in. He goes on to reveal that nobody else stays there for any extended period of time. So it's not a home, it's simply a residential center for one.
So you're saying that the Timpage house, what do you call that within JMMI? How do you
A ministry residence, residential center.
Okay, residential center?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
And what do you, and you purchase this?
Yes. Mm-hmm. The ministry. The ministry. The ministry.
Right.
The ministry.
And you use that as a residential center?
Yes.
And so when you're saying you had to fix it up, what were you doing to it?
Well, I mean, moving in and that kind of thing.
Moving what in?
You know, just possessions of the ministry, stuff like that. You know, when you move in a new place, you take things in.
But people sleep there?
Not necessarily on a regular basis. If I have guests who may come out of town, they may come and I may take them over there for dinner or something like that.
And may they sleep there also?
Yes, they have been able to do that, but usually I have a hotel for them.
And Debbie Frazier has slept there?
No.
Debbie Frazier has been there, hasn't she?
Yes, mm-hmm.
With
My
you.
whole staff has been there, yeah.
So just to catch everyone up to speed here, this deposition isn't actually in regard to any criminal charges being laid directly against David. It's in regard to the woman who was just mentioned, Debbie Frazier, and her divorce with her husband. Debbie had donated something to the tune of $1.2 million to David's ministry, and then she got a divorce, and now her husband is claiming that she used David's ministry to embezzle that money from the marriage prior to the divorce, and then somehow claimed to retrieve it after the marriage was ended. If you guys want me to really dive deep into that story and uncover what may or may not have actually happened in that case, go ahead and let us know in the comments below, and we may go ahead and do a video in the future on that. But for now, I just wanted to let you know what kind of was going on, and we're going to move on to David's fabulous lifestyle with his cars, clothes, and mansions.
Now this one on Trail Oaks, that's the one you referred to as the ministry house where you didn't know the address before?
Right. Mm-hmm. I know.
Is this in a residential area?
Yes, it is.
And do you own this house?
No, we're leasing it.
You lease. And what happens at this house? What's its purpose?
Well, I think I shared last time, it's a place where I allow those who may be volunteering and they come to the city to want to work for the ministry, and so they may not have a place to stay, so I'll allow them to stay there if they want, or if they need that, you know, maybe one or two people. But it's also a place where we have done, like in St. Louis, it's one of our startup places until we build the facilities that we are saving money for.
What do you mean startup?
Well, like, you know, a small business starting garages, that kind of thing. Yeah.
Do you hold meetings here?
No. Mm-mm.
And this is in a residential, it looks almost like a subdivision kind of house.
Mm-hmm.
You have to answer yes.
Yes.
No.
Mm-hmm.
All right. And the subdivision allows you to run a ministry out of that house?
Well, actually, we've talked with them, and it's not wrong that we are, because we're not doing no kind of big operation. It's just like a startup business, like many American companies starting garages here in this country.
When Debbie Frazier goes to St. Louis, does she stay at this residence?
Not
Not that I know of. I'm not positive about that. I don't think there's room there for that.
What do you mean there's not room?
Room to stay there like that.
I thought you said you allowed people to stay there.
Yeah, I said, if there's room but I don't think there's room for nothing like that.
Okay, so
I'm
what
sure
is
she
it
may
you-
get a hotel when she's in town. I don't know. But it would be good if you could ask Michelle because she deals with that.
So what is that place used for? What's the residential used for if people don't stay there?
Well, I just shared what it's used for. That it's one of our startup locations to help the ministry save money as an overhead until we build what we're going to build there as the global headquarters.
Since he's not going to say it, I will. What happens in these houses is what some people call slave labor, or at least the planning and organization of it. The actual labor takes place mostly in the church. David's ministry operates like a marketing firm. His startup that he keeps referring to includes everything from door-to-door solicitations to cold calling and social media marketing. This is all according to former volunteer staff members, but he apparently set a quota for how much each individual had to earn in donations each day. I'll just quote from this Pathos article, which relates these statements made by former member Chris Sorensen. Quote, Chris would later learn of the inner workings of a ministry machine that he said was focused on bringing in as much money as possible. He said JMMI, which, according to tax records, brings in millions of dollars in donations every year, developed email and phone call solicitation scripts for members to follow, sending out thousands of messages each day in an effort to hit certain benchmarks. Quote, every single staff member had a $500 per day quota you had to meet in donations, or $20,000 collectively. You pretty much work every single day. You might have had one day off a month. I remember I would want so much for a day off, and just week after week would pass, and I just never got the day off. So you're always sleep deprived. You never can catch up on sleep. Sorensen also said church members slept in the building, some on air mattresses and others on blankets on top of plywood. The industrial building had no actual beds or showers. Another interesting segment from this article involves a woman who was previously in a relationship with David. She's a fairly popular gospel recording artist, and here's what she had to say. She alleged that David repeatedly violated his duties as a man of the cloth by having sexual relations with more than 40 women, many of them in his ministry. Quote, he told me if I went public, I would get cancer. He puts all these curses on people. When you first get with him, he asks you for naked pictures, inappropriate pictures. If you even think about getting mad or want to break up, or if you expose him, he's going to send those pictures out. So basically threatening with revenge porn. This is all incredibly disgusting behavior, especially from a man who claims to be a spiritual leader. I mean, so look, nobody sleeps in his big mansion but him, and occasionally a woman who he plucks from his flock. And he's maintaining this lavish lifestyle off what can essentially be called slave labor. And he has a whole group of people who literally think he's God, or at least close friends with God. This is a cult.
I lied for my ex-husband to pretend and act like that did not happen. You know, I was so far gone with whatever he told me to do. God showed me in a dream of me carrying my ex-husband on a throne. He literally became my God. And that is what I want to proclaim to the people of God tonight. You know, the first commandment is that we're not to have no other God before God. But where the enemy got in and perverted, he perverted our love for God to the place that we began to worship this man. And his word was above law. His word was the word for us. Now, you are a man of God. You are a prophet of God. You are a teacher of God. And you knocking your wife upside the head. You are sleeping with all of the women that are in your ministry, the majority of them. Not every single one of them, because I'm sure there may be some backlashing as my story comes out. So I want to choose my words carefully. But know that there was a lot of women. The women began to change their clothing and they began to dress like me because, or they would listen to what he liked. If my ex-husband, he liked liked women with hair on their legs. So the women began to walk around with hair on their legs. We would dress up because he liked us to dress up. He liked us to wear shoes where our toes were out. Everybody's walking around like that. You know, everybody wants to be with him. And they thought they were the only one. And they weren't. They thought they were the only one, and they weren't.
I want to move on to some different footage because we've still got a lot to cover, but the last clip from this deposition I want to examine today shows David's primary style of deception. He uses obfuscation to confuse people, and then he distances himself from their accusation. So we'll see him latch on to an opportunity to cause a distraction, and then he'll throw Michelle under the bus. And sadly, we're not even going to have time to get to Michelle in this video, but she apparently runs this whole operation.
Okay, all I want to know is if he knows who this person is that gave $1 million in collectibles.
You know, that's okay if it has been disclosed.
Yeah. Who's?
Give the name.
Elsie Clark.
What is it?
Elsie. Her name is Elsie.
A woman's
Forget
name?
woman? Yes.
E-L?
Yeah.
S?
Elise.
E-L?
Elise.
Elise?
I think Elsie. I think you pronounced it Elsie. That's.
All right, so spell it one more time for me.
Elise.
All right, and your last name?
I'm not sure about that because I think she was recently married. So.
What was the name at the time of the gift?
See, I thought it was Clark, but I don't want to do what I did here last time because I don't want them to accuse me of being.
Do the best you
thought
can.
it was
I don't know. I just rather say I don't know.
No, you don't get a rather. What did you
I
believe?
don't know.
You said you
I don't know.
Give your best estimate of the name if you recall. Go ahead.
Because I think I'm getting it confused with somebody else's
That's okay.
name. That's the thing. Elsie Clark.
To the best of your recollection.
I think
you've
no.
named-
I just think it's another. I think that's wrong. I'm mixing two names.
Is that something Michelle would know?
Yeah, she would probably know that.
So in addition to showing David's primary style of deception, this shows a complete and utter lack of regard for the people who donate to his ministry. This woman gave $1 million, and she's nothing but a name on a piece of paper to him. A name he can't even get right.
This is usually pronounced as Elise. Elise. Beautiful name, isn't it? Elise.
All right, so
Not
what is
really.
this residential center?
Oh, this is a place that the ministry owns. Well, not own. We're in the process of buying that. Yeah, we don't
So are
own
you
it yet.
renting to buy, or are you?
Yeah, we're leasing to buy.
You have that as an asset of $2,844,500. So do you own it?
I just answered that, didn't I? I said we didn't own it.
Okay,
We're
but
leasing to
where
buy
does
it.
the? I'm sorry.
We're leasing to buy it. Did you? I thought we just said that.
All right, but
Yeah.
you have listed it as an asset worth $2,844,000.
Oh, that should be more of a liability.
All right, so where does the number $2,844,000 come from on your
That's the
asset and liability?
That's, I guess, the appraisal value of the home or the residential center. Yeah.
Is it a home?
No, it's a residential center. We use it.
All right,
for
so you're saying it's not something you own, but you have it listed as an asset of $2.8 million.
That's probably a mistake. Like I say, it probably should be a liability.
Okay, and what goes on at the residential center?
It is really it's a gathering place for our ministry where I bring in different leaders and also the staff that we have as a place of maybe resort and teaching and training.
Resort?
Yeah, teaching. A resort where we teach and train.
David's defensiveness here is to be expected, but it doesn't paint his character in a very good light. The lawyer tries to clarify why he's saying the home is being leased when it's listed as an asset, and David gets aggressive and rude in his response. But David's in the wrong, and worse, he tries to act like nothing happened. He offers no apology and just wants to move on to the next thing. There are videos online of him acting rude toward his staff and church members as well, and I can't help thinking that this is a really common behavior.
On November 29th, 2013, JMMI paid over $6,000 to Louis Vuitton.
Yes.
What would that be for?
Well, this is for clothes concerning my TV ministry as well.
Or you have to wear Louis Vuitton?
Oh, it don't matter what name it is. The point is clothing are allocated to us for ministry purposes as well.
What do you mean they're allocated to you?
You know, in a media ministry.
In a what?
Media ministry.
Yeah.
Okay, or on the road, when I'm always traveling and using my clothes, I'm sweating through them. So I'm needing new clothes also for television ministry through the years. So
Now, this is one thing I'm actually gonna give David a break on. I mean, not the $6,000 suits bought with ministry funds. God, no. But the fact that he sweats a lot. That's fair. In fact, remember his atrocious singing from the intro? Would you believe me if I told you he actually rocked out to those same lyrics over and over for more than 12 minutes? Don't ever let anyone tell you he doesn't work for his money.
You are my Lord, that's why I sing to you.
So you used ministry money to buy your wardrobe.
outfit.
Your
It's allocated more towards ministry apparel.
Does that go into what your income is?
I'm sorry. I don't
Do you
understand.
show that in your income that you got Louis Vuitton clothing?
No, that's not. That
doesn't show.
because it don't go there.
It don't go there. I don't know
no.
what that means.
It don't belong there. That's out of place.
What's out of place?
You don't get taxed on things like that. That's for ministry business purpose. So it's not.
Louis Vuitton.
Well, you can call whatever you want.
So June 2014, you spent $3,500 by JMMI to Versace in the Bahamas. Yes?
I'm sure that's right. If it shows there.
And that was for clothing for you?
Yes, probably. Yes, most likely.
So you don't see that there's any problem when you're ministering to the poor, the sick, the needy, to be appearing in Louis Vuitton and Versace?
Well, that ain't something I purchase all the time.
Well, it looks like you did several times in...
I mean, I'm a very frugal person when it comes to this. I go to the right places to get a lot of suits. And if I get some from those places, you don't see that.
I don't see Macy's.
No, you don't see that, because Macy's don't have the kind of suits that I wear.
Freaking get off my darn clothes. They got out there. I said, Macy don't have the suits I wear. Oh, darn idiots.
This juxtaposition between David the preacher and David the deposed reveals a lot about what's going on here. David is a performer. Seeing him in this deposition is a rare glimpse into his personality when the performance is turned off, or at least toned down. But when he's at the head of his flock, it's all just a big show.
But what I'm saying is, this Louis Vuitton things, you don't see that in our charges all the time.
2013 and 14, JMMI spent over $30,000 in your clothes. Does that sound about right?
What year was that?
13 and 14?
Oh God, yes, because I was traveling so much and sweating through all my clothes. Exactly. That probably wasn't enough because just have so...
But they have to be top-of-the-line expensive ones.
No, they're not top-of-the-line clothes.
Louis Vuitton's not top-of-the-line?
Those not where I get my suits from.
Well, you got something from them spent thousands and thousands.
Well, the belts are more lasting, so that's good.
Come on, you're buying belts for $5,000?
No, I mean multiple belts. Not
August 2014, you went to the Gucci store in Troy and purchased something?
Yeah,
What
like
would
I
that
say,
be?
it probably was a belt or maybe shoes. I don't
Belt
know.
or shoes?
But I don't usually buy my suits from these very expensive places. I just get the things that I invest in will last longer, like such as belts.
So you got to go
or
to
shoes.
Gucci or places like that.
Well, no, I buy those things from there because they have a better TV appearance. For the belt.
For
and
asking for money
shoe.
from the poor?
No, it's
You paid $1,000 to Monsieur Clothing in New York, and then another $715. Whose clothing was that for?
where's that now? I don't understand.
August 1st, October 28th, total of over $1,700 to Monsieur Clothing in New York.
I don't know about that.
All right, you testified at your last deposition that JMMI owns 3 vehicles, a BMW, a Mercedes, and a Bentley.
Yes.
Have you driven those cars?
Yes.
Is Michelle?
No. We usually have a driver.
The 3 cars that we've talked about, in whose name are the titles?
Then the ministry name.
They're all in JMMI.
I think everything except the Bentley.
Whose name is the Bentley in?
It's in DeWin McDill.
I have a question, just from a, you minister to the poor and the sick and all that. Isn't it a little offensive to be driving around in a Bentley and a Mercedes to people that really, are impoverished and sick and ill and AIDS and drug rehab? Isn't it a little offensive to sort of being show-placing what you have?
Well, dear one, I don't showplace to people, and I'm not in
Bentley.
that car. You don't see me driving around in that car every day. I don't do that.
But it's in the ministry. Everybody in the ministry sees you. You said you drive it.
I haven't before. You just asked me have I drove it, but it ain't something I drive every day or even every year. I don't do that. I have drivers who pick up my guests, my high-profile guests. No,
But do you see my point that people that are suffering and giving you whatever their last dime is and in donations and drug habits, to have them see you drive around your high-profile guests in a Bentley or Mercedes might be offensive and hurtful even?
It could be offensive if they didn't know my life, but they know my life. It would be offensive to someone like you who's trying to make it bad, but,
So it's
because your
important you have a
attitude,
Bentley.
it ain't really important. That don't make me.
Then you also have a Land Rover that you lease.
Range Rover.
Range Rover.
Yes, it's not a Land Rover, it's a Range Rover.
So when I started making this video, I thought I'd have a lot to say about David's personality and mental health. But the truth is, there's almost no person here at all. Everything we know about David is a facade. All the most shocking things he says can probably be summed up in one simple observation. He's lying for money. One psychological construct I think is potentially useful, though, is the dark triad. Some significant traits we can discern about David would be high conscientiousness. I mean, he's a liar and a thief, but he certainly pursues excellence in his field. Callousness and low empathy, goal setting, interpersonal domination, narcissistic tendencies, predatory behavior, manipulation and deception, low agreeableness, and even the possible occurrence of psychotic episodes, assuming he's not lying about the Jesus talks, and assuming Jesus doesn't actually talk to him. All of these personality aspects and orientations fall somewhere within the vicinity of the dark triad traits, being psychopathy, Machiavellianism, and narcissism. They indicate a potentially malevolent personality, but usually the dark triad is reserved for murderers, or at least people who use violence. Here's the crazy thing.
All right, they got me on camera. They got me slapping a cat. And it was their cat. Okay, I'm wrong. I'm wrong. But that ain't even truth. Okay, y'all missed that. Oh, we got David now. We saw him slap the cat. Okay, I did it. I slapped the cat, right? But it's like Abraham. What's really true? Is God going to really be with you because I slapped your cat? As a matter of fact, because you got mad, God will tell you, rebuke you, say, this is my servant. You need to have him pray for your attitude.
Basically, David is fine with justifying violence against an animal that belongs to someone else on the grounds that he's so close to God that merely slapping a cat is trivial in comparison to the greater spiritual situation, I guess. Now, this cat story is embedded in a longer monologue about truth and how David can never be wrong because, again, of how close to God he is.
This is why you cannot listen to facts. You need to listen to Jesus. What did Jesus tell you when you first came here? David E. Taylor is my servant. He is my friend. Why would you listen to anybody else? He appeared to you. He himself is truth. He is the faithful and true what? Witness of heaven. Why would you listen to a punk out here? Why would you listen to these liars?
And there are seriously hundreds of videos like this. David would be a really funny guy if his personality wasn't so malignant, and if he didn't slap cats. And there are some other potentially antisocial aggressive behaviors with David. For example, he admits that he sometimes punishes his children with a belt. Now that is still sort of debated in our society, so I will leave that one alone. But his wife also claimed that he used to hit her, and that is not debated in our society, so that's definitely a strike against David, but it is alleged, so we don't have any proof of that. But also alleged, there are people who claim they have been removed from the church and, physically roughed up for questioning David or questioning something that he said, basically for small things. They've been roughed up and thrown out of the church. That is also alleged. And there are police reports detailing 30 separate incidents involving JMMI, including a missing persons report and a man who died of heart failure inside the church. Quote, on November 5th, 2017, a 57-year-old man died of natural causes while attending a prayer group at JMMI. Taylor police and firefighters arrived at the scene around 2:15 a.m., and observed a group of people chanting and singing and touching and pressing down on the body. A witness told officers that when people pray at the church, all of them faint under the light of God. She told officers the deceased was sleeping and God would wake him up soon. A police detective took some items, including a stack of credit cards and ID, from the deceased and turned them over to his wife. The county medical examiner was called to retrieve the man's body. The cause of death was later determined to be heart disease. 2 days later, in a separate incident, a woman reported a friend as a missing person. She told police the friend had come to Michigan 2 years earlier to join JMMI and hadn't been seen in person by his parents in over 18 months. She said church officials gave her different stories about the whereabouts of her friend. She also said she found his vehicle in the parking lot with expired plates. The police report states that she feared he had been brainwashed. So we see at least a strange pattern here of potentially violent behaviors. I'm not going to go any farther than what's in this article because obviously I can't confirm basically any of these reports, but it's a case of, there's certainly some smoke there.
In June of 2013, there's over $6,000 worth of charges for the Disney Resort Hotel in Anaheim, California. Do you remember that?
Yes.
And did you go?
Yes, I was there.
Does JMMI pay any of your auto expenses?
Yes.
And how much?
Auto expenses, I wouldn't know exactly how much.
You don't know how much you get?
No.
Who would know?
The board takes care of that.
Who's the board?
You can ask Michelle. She's another person to refer to.
What about your housing? Does JMMI pay any of that?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
You get a housing allowance?
Yes.
And how much is that?
I'm not sure.
And do you report these allowances as compensation on your tax return?
Honestly, I don't know how all that work. I have other people who do that, so you can refer to Michelle on that.
Michelle does your taxes?
No, I have other people do it, but she's over a lot of that, the financial aspect.
When you say it's up to the board, now the board includes Michelle?
Yes.
You?
Yes.
And who else?
I'm not sure. You can ask Michelle.
You don't know who's on the board?
Totally. I would rather you get the accurate information because I don't want to be accused of answering falsely like I have been other times when I've tried to guess. So I just rather you, I'm telling you I don't know, just ask her.
How many people are on the board?
Don't know. Just
You don't know?
No.
Don't you have to have board meetings?
Yes, we do have board meetings.
So can you count around the table how many people there are?
Well, our board also grows at the same time. So I just rather you just get that information somewhere else.
The last time you had a board meeting was when?
So on the phone, I think it's been the beginning of the year in January. Can't exactly tell the date, but...
It was on the phone?
Yeah. I have never been to court for no criminal charges.
Did you ever pardon me?
Go on.
Did you ever hire an attorney to represent you in any criminal defense manner?
Yes, I have. And that was the only thing I could think of in 13 is me, when I disciplined my child, and that was the only thing. So I don't know anything other than that.
Tell me about that one. Was that in St. Louis?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
And which child was that?
That was last year, I think, or the year before last, if I'm not 13. So,
which child?
Destiny.
Your 18-year-old daughter?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
And was this done through Children's Protective Services?
I think so, yeah.
And what were the allegations?
Well, that I had disciplined her because she skipped class 20 times, and they felt my discipline measure of using a belt was abusive.
All right, so you used a belt in disciplining Destiny?
I don't know if I can speak on that. Can I speak on this? Because my lawyers told me about.
Then, not knowing the status of those proceedings.
Is it resolved? Is it all done?
I'm going to object to the
Well,
question.
let me just ask if it's what the status is.
I don't know.
All right, I'm not asking you to say what you did. I'm just asking if the allegations were that you disciplined your daughter with a belt and caused...
Okay.
Just allegations.
But you may ask, but I'm going to pose a constitutional protection on that.
What's the constitutional? I'm not asking him to say what he did or didn't do.
Anything that might lead to or otherwise might considered be incriminating, I think he's got a right to assert defense.
I think he can tell me what the allegations are. That is not privileged, Fifth Amendment or otherwise.
It is, because if he doesn't know, he's speculating, and I'm going to assert
Well, he's
the
not
privilege.
saying that.
I don't know.
I'm going to assert the privilege. It's absolute. Somebody wants to take it. I don't know. I don't know who the lawyer is. He doesn't seem to know the condition of the matter. So to avoid any kind of drift, and I think maybe you might be concerned about it as well.
Well, is this let me ask you, did this rise to the level of court intervention by the local court in St. Louis that does...
Don't speculate if you don't know.
Please don't testify for him.
Well, I don't know.
Did you go to court on it?
What court?
Any court. Did you ever go to any court about these allegations that you disciplined Destiny physically? The belt.
So would family court be known as?
If you know.
Yeah, family court.
So you did go to family court? Yes?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
And what was the outcome of that? Is it done? Is it pending?
I don't know.
You have no idea?
No, I don't know everything.
Is that why Destiny doesn't live with you now?
Yes.
One last thing I want to discuss is a story where David claimed to bring a woman back from the dead simply by sending her a Facebook message. And it's not just a random claim he made offhand. The family of the woman corroborated the claim and thanked him publicly. There were articles written about it. This kind of thing really reveals how David's operation is run. It's not just cold calls and spam mail. There is a sophisticated component to social media and digital marketing, which helps David reach all the most gullible in society. And they happen to be the easiest to extract money from, especially when you convince them that you can perform miracles through text messages. But I want to be careful to differentiate what David does from how a normal, healthy church or religious organization behaves. The fact alone that he wants to build some organization to reach more people and talk about Jesus isn't the problem. And it's not even the donations. People are free to send their money wherever they want, and donating to a local church or mosque or synagogue, etc. isn't always a waste of money. There are good people and good organizations in the world who spread positive messages. David's organization, however, spreads false hope and sells lies. And I don't just mean Christianity in general, or his more specific claims about hanging out with Jesus. I mean this organization's entire business model depends on people believing that their financial donations will be rewarded by God, through David, who has a direct line, in the form of good health or some other spiritual benefit, or that it's like an investment that will have real financial returns. The product they sell is a lie. Their growth depends on spending the donations to reach more people in order to get more donations. And they live lavishly. It's like a Ponzi scheme with no bottom or top. Just a black hole at the center consuming donations and occasionally spitting out mansions and first-class trips to the Bahamas. Not to mention the $6,000 suits. This is an organization that uses lies and emotional manipulation to prey on the lowest common denominators of society. The kind who either believe this guy talks to Jesus, or who see his grift for what it is and just want in on it. It's Deception Incorporated.